Let's go. The Oklahoma Sooners have landed a 3-star offensive tackle out of Edmond Santa Fe, keeping another OKPREPS kid home, not letting him end up with the likes of Iowa State or Missouri or Vanderbilt or Kansas State. And I'm not saying all those guys were in here recruiting that kid, but generally you see those guys as the teams that are causing Oklahoma problems on the recruiting trail, stealing kids out of Oklahoma. But Brent Venables, when he got to OU, said, not anymore. We're keeping these kids here. And Oklahoma gets a massive commitment from a 3-star offensive tackle out of Edmond Santa Fe in Josh Aisosa. And at 6'5", 305 pounds, I believe this kid is going to be able to provide a much needed piece on the offensive line for this class, and a guy that could potentially develop into a top-tier offensive lineman for Oklahoma. And listen, Bill Bedenbaugh has proven to do his best work with the 3-star and the 4-star guys. So guys, before we dive into it, before we talk about it, go ahead and hit that like and hit the subscribe button. Jump down in the comments below and let me know what y'all's thoughts are around the 3-star offensive tackle commitment for the University of Oklahoma, Josh Aisosa, because the Oklahoma Sooners are coming out of July where they were scorching hot, and you come into August where, well, you started the month off with 3 straight commits. You had one on the 31st of July, one on the 1st, and one on the 2nd. You've had a little bit of a break, but you pick it back up with Josh Aisosa, and this time it's a teammate of Bergen Kaisar, the defensive lineman with the PWO that committed to Oklahoma just a couple days ago. That, remember, I told you was going to be a big piece for Oklahoma going into the SEC, because sometimes those preferred walk-ons are going to be guys that can really be a production piece for you and ultimately end up being a scholarship player, which is what I think Bergen Kaisar will be for Oklahoma. But Josh Aisosa is the guy we're talking about today. And at 6'5", 305 pounds, this is a guy that is quick on his feet. He's got the size. He's good with his hands. So everything is there for Bill Bedenbaugh to take the success that he's had on the field so far in a hard league. I mean, I'm not going to lie. He plays 6A football here in the state of Oklahoma. So he's playing against the best, like the Jenks and the Union and the Memorials and the Norths and all of those, right? So he's playing the best talent in the state of Oklahoma. This is a guy that you believe, if you get him here on campus, you get him here with the development of Schmitty and Bill Bedenbaugh, this guy could potentially be a producer for you on the offensive line. You heard me say it right. And you might say, well, it's just another 3-star commit. Why are we excited? Well, let me tell you this. Bill Bedenbaugh has done his best work with 3-star offensive linemen. And you can look at the 3-star and 4-star offensive linemen that he's gotten on the recruiting trail, like an Anton Harrison, who was a borderline 4-star guy. At one point was a 3-star on the recruiting trail. You see a guy like Orlando Brown, who was a 3-star on the recruiting trail, ended up as a 4-star kid. Who's to say Josh Aisosa at the end of this recruiting cycle is not a 4-star guy? Because as much as we like to call it out and say Oklahoma gets the 5-star, they get the 4-star guy when they commit, really at the end of the day, you're waiting for that final evaluation when National Signing Day hits. Because that's what really matters. What is the ranking? What is the star? What is the official evaluation when that player puts pen to paper? And honestly, sometimes those final evaluations, they don't tell the story. And I'm going to put it this way. There's another recruit that Oklahoma's going after on the offensive lineman, and Daniel Akinkumi. And that's a guy who hasn't been playing football very long. You get him on campus. You get him, a guy that hasn't really played football that long, ultimately could be a diamond in the rough for you. What if he was playing football for the past 4 years? He could be a 5-star guy. Who knows? But if you get him on campus and he's not ranked, or he's a really low 3-star kid, he could end up being a starter for you in 3 or 4 years. It sounds crazy, and I know it's kind of hard to see past the 3-star ranking, but you kind of have to think with that mentality. The final evaluations are not in yet. And ultimately, the best evaluation of a player is when they get to campus and you see what they are able to do on the football field against the best of the best talent. And Josh Aisosa says, I'm not scared of any of the other 4-star offensive linemen or the top tier offensive linemen that Oklahoma has there. I want to come compete. I want to come be developed by one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. And that's what you see Josh Aisosa doing here. And honestly, going back to the recruiting aspect of it, it's kind of important for Oklahoma to be able to go in there to Edmond Santa Fe and get another guy, because we really haven't built our recruiting pipeline in Edmond very well. And a lot of that was on the last staff. They really didn't like recruiting OKPREPS guys. You've seen guys, 5-star talent, go to Michigan out of Tulsa. You've seen Tulsa kids go to Arkansas and Texas A&M or Oklahoma State or Tulsa. You want to be able to keep those kids with the best school in the state. And Brent Venables and his staff, they've made it known that's what they want to do. And that's what you're seeing them do on the recruiting trail. And I'm not saying Edmond's like this now, but Edmond is a fast-growing area in the state of Oklahoma. Edmond's got a lot of money. You're seeing a lot of people move there. Who's to say Edmond here in a couple of years is not what Tulsa is in sports? And you see the 3 Edmond schools really start producing a lot of college talent. It's possible. And so I look at what the importance is on the recruiting trail for Oklahoma to be able to go into Edmond and create this recruiting pipeline, which they've now gotten 2 guys in this cycle from the same school in Edmond, and not just a school in Edmond. Edmond Santa Fe produces athletes, guys. They produce basketball players, baseball players. So you like the idea that this staff is going to go into that school and they're going to get whoever they want. And they ultimately land Josh Aisosa, the 3-star offensive tackle, and you got to love it. And so I look at what they're doing and what else could be potentially landing. You know you have Eugene Brooks. You know you have Isaiah Autry there. You add Josh Aisosa to those guys. You're waiting on the commitment from Grant Bricks. You're waiting on the commitment from Daniel Akinkumi. And you wonder, what is next for the Sooners? Do we land that commitment? Who's the next guy to help continue this spurt and keep Oklahoma hot on the recruiting trail? So, guys, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts on the 3-star offensive tackle commit for Bill Bedenbaugh and the University of Oklahoma. So go ahead, jump down in the comments below. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are. Let me know what you guys think. And then additionally, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like, hit the subscribe button.